Today, we are taking a look at the 7 soul levels and answering the question, what level are you? So it's this idea that there are different stages or ages of the soul. And we're going to take a look at 7 of them and see where you land on this scale of the development or evolution of the soul. We're going to be talking a lot about that. If you're new to this information, this is going to be really good to understand exactly what the soul is and how the soul operates and how it transforms and how it evolves. And remember, as always, we are going to be looking at this through the lens of logic and reason while being plugged into our intuition, because remember, we want to put metaphysics on firm ground. That's exactly what we do in our system of meta-rationalism here in the Neogenian system. So that's what we're talking about today, my friends. We're going to get started right now, but as always, remember, please like and subscribe. Why? Because this channel is about raising consciousness and spreading awareness. And when you hit like, when you hit subscribe, it tells the algorithm to show this to more people hear about this stuff, and it starts a chain reaction. So it just takes a second. Just hit the like button. Go ahead. I'll wait. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also, I want to remind you that if you enjoy my work, you can support on patreon.com/MorgueOfficial. You'll get access to all of our members only videos. There's a new members only video coming out right after this video, which is all about magic, spells, and the occult. Do spells actually work? The truth about the occult. That's what we're talking about today. So you can support at any tier on Patreon or tier 2 or higher on YouTube to get access to that. Also, big news, if you haven't heard, my book, Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind, is available for pre-order right now, the digital version, on Amazon.com. So you can look it up, you can pre-order it. The physical copies, the hardcover, the paperback, they will be available May 16th. Finally, I have a Spotify podcast, so go follow me. Check it out. We're growing fast over there. It's called Dawn of the New Earth. You can find these videos there. Watch them in a very convenient way. And like I said, when you follow over there, it helps spread this information on multiple platforms. So go check me out on Spotify if you have a Spotify account. All right, let's begin. We're talking about the 7 levels of the soul, or the 7 ages of the soul, and figuring out where you lie on this scale. Now, when we talk about this, we have to understand what a soul is. And the important thing to understand that I see so many people struggle with at first is understanding that you don't have a soul. You are a soul. This is an incredibly important distinction to make, because a lot of people have this idea that there is them, and then there is the soul that sort of maybe like exists within them in their chest or something. The soul is usually looked at as something that someone has. That's not the case. What you are is a soul, and it doesn't exist inside of you. It's not in your chest. It's not in your head. It's not behind your eyes. You as a soul are an immaterial being, and you exist in a completely different domain. You exist in a frequency domain, an immaterial domain, or a domain of mind. Why is this the case? Well, mind and soul can really be used interchangeably. The mind is the soul. And this is something that has, like, in philosophy, mind and soul has been used interchangeably for so long. It's not really until the rise of materialism that these things began to be seen as different, but they're not. The mind is the soul. So your ability to have a subjective experience, your ability to have thoughts, to feel happiness, to feel hope and sadness and pain and pleasure, that is due to the faculties of you as a soul. Your soul is your subjectivity, your sentience. That's what you are as a soul. And a soul is not something that is mystical or unknowable. It is a mathematical concept. It is a system of frequencies. So a soul is a mind, which is a system of frequencies. And this is important to understand when we're going to talk about the soul levels. Okay? So you're a soul, you're a system of frequencies. And you exist as a soul or as a mind, or in the Neogenian system, as we call it, a zeta. Soul, mind, zeta, these are all different words for the same thing. So you as a mind, as a soul, as a zeta, exist in the frequency domain, the domain of mind, the domain of frequency, the immaterial domain. It's a non-local domain. Your body is an avatar. This includes your brain. Your brain in your body is an avatar, and it allows you as a soul, as a mind, as a zeta, to interface with it and experience a localized world. That is the physical world around you. This is similar to how one puts on a VR headset. When you put on a VR headset, you don't actually literally go into the virtual reality world, but you are fed data such that you experience the world as though you were in it. So you as a mind, you are not, you as a soul, you as a mind, you are a zeta, are not like inside your body somewhere or even inside the physical world anywhere. You are in another domain entirely, the frequency domain, the immaterial domain, the domain of mind. Just like you are, just like someone who puts on a VR headset doesn't literally go into the VR world. They're still in their living room or their bedroom or wherever they are when they put the headset on. But what does it allow them to do? It allows them to go into a VR world. And if it's a multiplayer game, you can interact with other VR characters, other people who are at home in their living rooms, but have a VR headset on and are interacting with each other in the VR world. So this is what physical reality is. It's like a multiplayer game. And these avatars are what allow us as minds to interface and have a localized experience and interact with each other. So why am I talking about this? Because we're talking about levels of the soul and how the soul evolves and transforms, and understanding this is paramount and important. So another piece of the puzzle that we have to add to this, so now that we know what a soul or a zeta or a mind is, we have to understand how or why it evolves. Now, this is how it works. Basically, each and every one of us is an individual zeta, an individual mind. Okay? Together, considered together, we form a network, which we call the zeta configuration or the absolute network. So we are all individual minds that exist in the frequency domain. Taken together, we form a network mind, a singular network mind. Now you can think of this as a mental neural network. Neural networks exist in the world in various forms. There are biological neural networks like the brain. There are artificial neural networks, which is artificial intelligence. And there are mental neural networks or zetic neural networks, which is a network mind formed by individual souls or individual minds or individual zetas. And we act as individual nodes of this network. Interfacing with avatars allows us to gather training data. Training data are experiences that we have and knowledge that we gain by interfacing and interacting in this multiplayer realm. Because if we didn't have this multiplayer realm to interact together, we wouldn't have opportunities for learning and growth and evolution. This is because at the beginning of every universal cycle, we start in an unconscious state. So we start at, say, the lowest soul level. And as we learn and experience and gather training data, this is what allows us as minds to grow and evolve. And what does that mean, to grow and evolve? It means to organize our internal frequency patterns into more optimal configurations. In other words, we are creating more complex frequency functions. These are space-time functions. Reality is mathematical. Everything is composed of functions. So this is a mathematical reality. There is a mental reality. There is a physical reality, but the physical reality is a projection of the mental reality. We as minds interface with avatars, which means that we are frequency functions interacting with the space-time function that allows us to experience the localized world around us, interact, experience the world, gather training data, and then when our avatar passes away, we retain that optimization that occurred because of our experiences. We link to a new body. We interface with a new body. This includes I don't necessarily want to say a memory wipe because we retain that information. But when we interface with a new body, we no longer have direct conscious access to like our past life memories and things like that. They don't go away. The slate isn't wiped clean. That exists within us as information, as frequency functions. It exists within us. But when we link to a new body, when we interface with an avatar, the brain acts as a filtering mechanism that filters out everything that is not necessary to our immediate survival in the physical domain. Because that is how the brain evolved. The brain evolved as a filtering function to allow us to focus on what's around us in our immediate surroundings so that we can survive. And if we were inundated with thousands of past life memories, we would be unable to function, and a predator would be able to come and eat us very easily. So the brain has evolved to be a filtering mechanism so that we can focus on our immediate survival. Now, we would like to change this and be able to alter the filtering mechanism of the brain so that we can access different domains and things like that, but that's a story for another time. I just want to lay out the basic pattern of what reality is, what a soul is, or a zeta, or a mind is, and the fact that a zeta, or a mind, or soul is going through stages of evolution, stages of growth, stages of transformation. So with that in mind, now let's talk about this idea of there being different soul levels. Now, are there different soul levels? Well, we're going to take a look at this idea, and I'm going to bring this article up. Let me see if I better have it here. Let's see, it is here. So this article is on medium.com, and I'll show you the title right here. It's called Everything You Need to Know About the Soul Age and the 7 Soul Ages. And this is written by Marta Enriquez. And so I'm going to be reading some quotes from this article. If you like it, if you enjoy it, go over to medium.com and give Marta Enriquez a follow and support her over there. Okay. But we're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to be quoting some things here, and we're going to be using this as a learning tool. So let's see what Marta has to say based on what we know about the soul now. And let's compare it and contrast it and look at this idea of are there actually soul ages or levels of the soul? And I'll tell you right now, this is not a new idea. This is an idea that has existed throughout history, especially in a lot of esoteric circles like the Rosicrucians. It's called the Great Chain of Being, essentially. In esoteric circles, it's usually referred to as the Great Chain of Being, because it's like you can think of it as a chain that you are going each link in the chain, and you're ascending and going higher and higher. So, but let's see what Marta says here. Marta says, the concept of soul age suggests that our soul evolves and progresses through various stages of growth and maturity over the course of multiple lifetimes. And that's exactly right. That's like we just said, you are a soul, you are a mind, you are interfacing with a avatar that gives you training data that allows you as a mind to optimize its internal frequency functions. Marta says each soul age is characterized by distinct qualities, lessons, and challenges that contribute to our spiritual evolution. According to this perspective, our soul progresses through different stages of development, each offering unique opportunities for learning, healing, and expansion. So, and I want to say that Marta says, while soul age is not necessarily linear or sequential, it provides a framework for understanding the evolutionary journey of the soul and the lessons it seeks to master in each lifetime. The first thing that I want to get across here, because there's this idea of like young souls and old souls. I want to make it clear, first of all, that souls or zetas or minds are eternal. If we're looking at it in the perspective of multiple cycles, you are an eternal being. There is no such thing as like a newly created soul or a newly born soul. Souls, minds, zetas are eternal. And the reason why that they are eternal is because they necessarily have to exist. They must exist by the laws of logic and reason. They are entities that have to exist. They can't not exist. To explain why would take a very long time. In one of my new books, I will be going into extreme detail on that. A quick and easy and intuitive way to understand why is through the concept of zero. You as a soul are mathematically equivalent to the concept of zero, but not just zero, also one and infinity. You are a triune concept, a zero, a one, and infinity. And this is why we call a soul a zeta rather than a zero. It is a zeta that is a triple concept. A zeta is a zero, a one, and an infinity. What does that mean? It is a one by virtue of the fact that it is a singular unit. It is one mind. It is self-contained. It is infinite in that it contains an infinity of energy within itself. It is zero by virtue of the fact that all positive energy is balanced by negative energy. So to think about this in mathematical terms, all positive values are balanced by negative values. And when you have each positive value paired with a negative value, the total result that you get is zero. So you can think of, if we were to calculate the number of the soul by adding up all of its constituent parts, it would add up to zero, result in zero. So it's a triune concept, triple concept, 1, 0, infinity, it's a zeta. What does this have to do with the eternality of the soul? It has to do with the eternality of the soul because, and remember, this is an intuitive way to understand it. There's a much more detailed way to understand it, but an intuitive way to understand it is that a zero is philosophically equivalent to the concept of nothingness, and nothingness cannot be created or destroyed. There's no way to create nothingness. There's no way to destroy nothingness. Nothingness logically always is. And you are a system of nothingness, but not empty nothingness. You are a full nothingness. You are a full zero. You are a zeta. You are a being of infinite energy. And everything that you need to exist is logically contained within yourself. And those are all the mathematical attributes that make you up. So anyway, long story short, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. This is information for a different video. But long story short, I just want to make it clear that you and I and all of us are eternal beings. This is not our first rodeo. We've been doing this for a while. Not a while, for eternity. We've been doing this forever. So we're going through these different universal cycles. And it's exactly because we have the capability to forget that it feels fresh and new. If we were not able to forget, we would be living in hell because we would never be able to filter out eternity. And that would be hell. So we have the ability to, thankfully, we have the ability to filter ourselves and alter our internal attributes such that we can experience reality in a fresh way. So, first of all, I want to make that clear when it comes to this idea of soul ages. Also, I want to make it clear as well that soul age, and remember, this is a concept that Marta is putting forward here. I personally wouldn't talk in terms of there being an age of the soul, because that implies a connotation of time in which one, it implies that, let me put it this way. The many lifetimes, the number of lifetimes that one has experienced or gone through does not automatically mean that soul is going, or zeta is going to be more evolved. So for example, what I mean by that is you can imagine a soul, a mind, a zeta, interfacing with an avatar, localizing, having living a life, and imagine that they live that life in such a way where they're having all these different experiences. They are going to school and learning all these advanced mathematical systems and philosophical systems. They're creating art. They're learning how to paint. They're having experiences of love. They're traveling, all these different things that they're doing, all these experiences, all this knowledge, all this expression. They're very self-aware. They work on themselves. You can imagine someone else who just sits on the couch and watches Netflix all day. So if you have a soul or a zeta that experiences many lifetimes where they are sitting on the couch and watching Netflix all day, or the equivalent of whatever that would be in whatever age or planet or place that they are, that's not going to do very much for their evolution of the soul. So a soul can use a single lifetime for so much growth that would take, let's say, another soul maybe 1,000 lifetimes to be able to have that equivalent amount of growth. So that's also important to understand. I don't necessarily think that calling it a soul age is the best way to call the soul, unless we do it in like a metaphorical way. So, but what are these 7 soul levels here, or 7 soul ages? So Marta says the 7 soul ages, as described in the teachings of spiritual philosopher and author Dr. Michael Newton, offer a roadmap for understanding the evolutionary journey of the soul. So let's take a look, knowing what we know about the soul, knowing what we know about the mind. Let's see what Dr. Michael Newton has to say about this system of 7 stages or ages that map out the journey of the soul. Let's take a look at these and see what, if we can, what kind of, how accurate it is, let's say, and how much we can learn from it. Now I'm reading these mostly for the first time right now with you, because I wanted to keep it kind of fresh. I skimmed them very briefly just to see if this would be an interesting thing to talk about, but I haven't looked at it in detail. So I'm going to be looking at it for the first time, and we're going to be reacting and seeing if this is accurate, how well this reflects reality. And then afterwards, we'll examine it with logic and reason and talk about our perspective and how we can understand where we are at as minds or as zetas, because there are absolutely levels of consciousness. And I think that that's the important thing to realize here, is that there's levels of consciousness, and we can see this throughout humanity. And one of our main goals in the Neogenian system is obviously creating the new beginning. We want to create the Neogenian, but how is that done? That's done through the evolution of consciousness, which means evolving your consciousness and helping others evolve their consciousness as well. You could put this in terms of soul levels by saying it's about leveling up your soul and helping others level up their soul as well. That is the way to create a new world, a new society, and a new earth. That's the way to do it. Because it cannot change until we have we cannot have a new earth until we have a new consciousness, until souls level up. That's necessary. But let's take a look at this. So the first age, according to Michael Newton, is infant souls. Number 1, infant souls. Infant souls are in the early stages of their evolutionary journey and are characterized by innocence, simplicity, and a focus on survival. They may struggle with feelings of fear, insecurity, and a lack of self-awareness as they navigate the complexities of human existence. Okay, so first thing to note, remember, I'm looking at this basically for the first time. So we're talking about levels of the soul, and in Michael Newton's framework, this only applies to the human experience. We could go much further back than the human experience and talk about souls as animals, or perhaps even plants, and the level of soul, or the activity of the soul, or the activity of the mind at those levels. But here we're starting at human, okay? And so Michael is characterizing the first level of a human soul as being an infant soul that is characterized by innocence, simplicity, and a focus on survival. They may struggle with feelings of fear, insecurity, and a lack of self-awareness as they navigate the complexities of human existence. And so I would agree that this is a way that one can understand someone who has a low level of self-awareness, right? So remember, when we're talking about levels of the soul, we're also talking about levels of consciousness, because remember, the soul is the mind. The mind is the soul is the mind. Now, we're not talking about the egoic mind. We're not talking about you are a mind, you are a zeta. Now, you as a mind, you as a zeta gets filtered and has access to conscious self-awareness, which is in large part due to the left brain hemispheric functioning of the brain that allows for this to occur. This has evolved and adapted because it was useful as survival. So, long story short, so I agree that this would be a very early characterization of a young, if we want to talk about it that way, of a young soul, or a low-level soul, or a soul that is very minimally self-aware, very minimally conscious. And innocence, simplicity, and a focus on survival, feelings of fear, insecurity, and a lack of self-awareness. So the reason why you have feelings of fear and insecurity and simplicity and innocence is because, well, there's not much self-reflection going on. And because there's not much self-reflection going on, one isn't reflecting on their own internal structure, and they're not really, reflecting on the structure of others' internal structure in the world and anything like that. And so you have fear, insecurity, and a focus on survival. Because why? Because that's what self-awareness developed for. Remember, we're going through an evolutionary trajectory, an evolutionary journey. The first thing that we're evolved to do is to survive. Why? Because we can't do any higher learning if we're dead. If we're dead, you can't learn very much and you're going to be dead. So evolution is focused on generating an avatar that allows one to survive. And so our self-awareness made us extremely adaptable and able to survive. However, because of this, it also brings with a lot of fear, especially fear of the other. So you have a fear of the other. Why? Because the other is a threat. The other, remember, you just come to self-awareness, so you realize, oh, I am an I. What is that person over there? That is a not I. That not I is a threat to the I. That not I, that person, is a threat to my being. It could eliminate my being. And so the I's, the self-aware individuals, tend to group together with those that are similar to themselves so that they can form units of protection, and fear those that are different, because those that are different present threats. This is what the simple self-aware mind sees. And this is a major problem, and why we live in such a screwed up world right now. We live in such a screwed up world because most people are at a very low soul level. And because they're at a very low soul level, they're not doing much internal reflection, and they're not doing much reflection on how reality works in the structure of civilizations and societies and cultures. And so they're in this low soul level, and they're seeing others, those that are different, as threats, as things that should be feared or eliminated or condemned or ostracized. We see this everywhere. Just look at what's going on in the world. And when I say look what's going on in the world, oh, well, there's many, which thing going on in the world? Look at all of them. All the different things going on in the world that are horrible right now. There's many of them. Many of them are predicated on this simplistic level of self-awareness or low soul level where the other is seen as a threat or an enemy. And we need to change this. This is one reason why we're so focused on helping humanity level up to the next level, because when you level up to the next level, you begin to realize other is not a threat. Other is an opportunity for growth and learning. Because remember, it's all about growth and learning. So we were built for survival, but we don't need to be in that phase anymore. We're trying to get humanity to the next phase where it's no longer about survival, but it's about purpose and thriving. We need to get to the level where we're like, oh, we don't need to kill each other to make sure that our group survives anymore. We don't need to do that. We can realize, oh, hey, we are here to interact, grow, and learn from each other. That's the point. That's the purpose. We are a singular network structure whose nodes need to be synchronized so that we operate in a way where we're not harming each other, but learning from one another. Anyway, so that's the first level. Yeah, I would say more or less. That's generally accurate. Let's see. Number 2, baby souls. So number 1 was infant souls. Number 2 are baby souls. Let's see what baby souls are. Baby souls are focused on structure, order, and conformity, seeking stability and security in their lives. They value tradition, rules, and authority, and may have rigid beliefs and judgments about right and wrong. Baby souls may struggle with intolerance, fear of change, and a sense of separateness from others. Okay, so this in general sounds very, very, very similar to, yeah, and I would agree with this as well. This is still a very low soul level or low level of awareness, and this would deal with a lot of people who have that very traditional religious mindset, who are, keeping humanity in the past with limiting values. And again, this is something that you can look at in the world right now and see, like, especially in America, where people's rights are being taken away, and not just in America, but all over. But you can see in the political front specifically is what I'm talking about, with different laws being passed, etc. Where, okay, so just to emphasize this again, focused on structure, order, and conformity, seeking stability and security in their lives. So again, there's nothing wrong with structure and order to a degree. Conformity and seeking stability. So, and they value tradition, rules, and authority, and have many rigid beliefs and judgments about right and wrong. Baby souls may struggle with intolerance, fear of change, and a sense of separateness from others. So you can see this is, again, a aspect of a low level of self-awareness, where self-awareness is still about survival, but it's operating at a more sophisticated level. So it's understanding, oh, we need structure, we need order, we need rules. Nothing wrong with structure, nothing wrong with order, nothing wrong with rules. But when they are implemented in a way where it's harmful to others, see, that's the difference. When it's like, oh, this benefits me, but it doesn't benefit, these people over here. Well, I don't care. It benefits me and my family and my religion and my group and my country. So that's how it's going to be. So you, again, are stuck in this survival mindset, in this baby soul level, where you have strong and rigid beliefs and judgments. You stick to tradition, you just stick to rules, and you don't like anything new. You don't like anything different. You don't like when things change. You like how things used to be, how they're always, and again, look at the political front in America, and I think you can see quite clearly exactly who the baby souls are. A lot of them are very whiny and crying all the time and annoying. So, young souls, 3, young soul. And by the way, because I called them annoying, I just want to point out that normally, right, this isn't about judging. Like, souls are on a process of evolution. And so it's not so much about judging. And what I mean by that is, think about how a child grows. If a child grows up, as a child goes through its different stages, well, there's a stage where it's, imagine a toddler and it's going through a phase where it's just, the toddler, they're just being angry and talking back all the time or crying a lot or whatever. I don't know. You can't really blame them because they're a toddler. Of course, there are ways you can raise children in a respectful way and everything. But what I mean is, clearly, there are just certain things that a toddler doesn't understand yet. They'll learn when they get older. There's just certain things a toddler doesn't understand yet. So when it comes to these ideas of baby souls, it's not so much of being like, oh, we're so much better than you. You're a bunch of idiots. It ideally should be more about, oh, well, you're at a certain level in your evolution, and you're at a certain level in your growth, and you're at a certain level of your journey. And here, let's work together, and I can help you, or whatever. I don't know. Just there's a level of respect. But the problem here is that the people who are baby souls are trying to control the world and run the government. That's the problem. That's the issue. And this is why it becomes, why it's more than just, it would be like if toddlers suddenly started running the government. Now it's like, whoa, hold on a minute. Yeah, you're a kid, and I understand that you're going through growth, and that's great, and that's it. But now you're trying to run things, and you're gonna get us all screwed up because you don't know what you're doing. So that's the problem, where there's nothing wrong with the fact that people are at different levels in their journey and growth. The problem is when those baby souls are the ones who are making the laws. That's an issue. That's and we live in a screwed up world because of that. So number 3, young souls. Young souls, and by the way, as we read this, think about yourself, think about where you fall in this. Let's see what young souls are. Number 3, young souls. Young souls are driven by ambition and achievement and the pursuit of success. They're often dynamic, competitive, and goal-oriented, seeking recognition and validation from others. Young souls may excel in material pursuits, but may also experience feelings of emptiness or discontentment as they search for deeper meaning and purpose. Interesting. And I would agree to a certain point that this does describe a soul. So you're going now from baby soul to young soul, and this is souls that are driven by ambition and achievement in the pursuit of success, dynamic, competitive, goal-oriented. So essentially what you have now is a soul that is starting to work towards goal achievement. And this is beyond just the simple staying alive and the simple structure, order, staying alive. Now you have self-development and self-actualization beginning to occur. Now, this is put in terms of like ambition and achievement and the pursuit of success. So this very much sounds like entrepreneurs and things like that. Nothing wrong with that. That's fine. As long as it's not at the expense of others or hurting others. But these are individuals that, because you'll notice it doesn't say anything about, it says mostly about like material pursuits, but they have experience feelings of emptiness or discontentment as they search for deeper meaning and purpose. So these are souls that are now actualizing to a certain point, but not in a true like meaningful or purposeful way. It's more about money and fame and achievement, or just achieving goals for the sake of achieving goals, rather than about doing something with purpose or for exploring the self in a way that evolves one's understanding of the unconscious and their higher self and their mind. So it's a level of that goes beyond mere survival to achievements, but it's more focused on materialistic type things. And there's a nihilism that comes with it, a purposelessness that comes with it. So yeah, I would say that that's pretty good. Number 4 is mature souls. So now we're going from young to mature. Mature souls are characterized by empathy, compassion, and a deep understanding of human nature. They value relationships, personal growth, emotional authenticity, seeking to cultivate harmony and balance in their lives. Mature souls may experience intense emotional highs and lows as they navigate the complexities of relationships and self-discovery. All right, so you have now the development of empathy and compassion, a deeper understanding of human nature, valuing relationships, personal growth, emotional authenticity, harmony, balance. So yeah, this sounds like individuals who, rather than just being involved with like selfish ambitions, are involved in things like perhaps causes that are important to them, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, animal activism. It doesn't have to be activism or something like that. Developing strong relationships with their family and friends. You're now turning more towards purpose and more towards meaning, rather than just being purely about material success and personal just validation from others or whatever. Now you're starting to turn towards purpose. And yeah, I think that that's fairly accurate. 5, old souls. Okay. So we go from mature to old. Let's see what old souls are. Number 4. Old souls are wise, introspective, and spiritually attuned, with a deep sense of inner peace and knowing. They value authenticity, simplicity, and a connection to the divine, seeking to live in alignment with their higher purpose. Old souls may feel a sense of detachment from material concerns and may prioritize inner growth and spiritual fulfillment above worldly success. Yeah, and I would say, again, this is fairly accurate. We have, so now you're going deeper. You're going deeper to not only just causes that you care about or cultivating empathy or compassion, but truly tuning into an understanding of what one is on a spiritual level. And when I say spiritual, I mean a metaphysical level. I mean a level dealing with the nature of being, of what one actually is, starting to understand what existence is, that one isn't a material being, but there are an immaterial being having a material experience, that reality is mathematical, that we're here to learn, evolve, and grow together. They live in authenticity. It says simplicity. I wouldn't necessarily, there's this idea that spread a lot where it's like, oh, if you're enlightened, you got to be like this monk that gives up everything and lives a simple life. And that I don't agree with. If that's a way that you want to live, nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly fine lifestyle choice. But it does not mean that you are not enlightened if you want to have a more complex life. Because remember, one very important aspect of life is about growing and learning and understanding. And you can have dynamic experiences through a more intricate life. And it says old souls may feel a sense of detachment from material concerns and prioritize inner growth and spiritual fulfillment above worldly success. And yes, I agree with that. Again, there's nothing wrong with worldly success, but the priority shifts. where in a previous level, was it what was the one? Young souls, 3 young souls. So the difference here, because young souls were about ambition and worldly success, 5 old souls prioritize inner growth and spiritual fulfillment. So there's nothing wrong with worldly success, but it should become a means to an end rather than an end to itself. Whereas, someone who's just like, I just want to make a lot of money and be super famous. Whereas there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with people knowing you. But for those who are, old souls, that's usually not the main goal. They are trying to advance themselves, prioritizing inner growth and spiritual fulfillment. They have their priorities in line. They prioritize the immaterial, the soul and the spirit over the material. Doesn't mean one has to give up the material. That's very important to understand. It's just a shifting of priorities. It's a shifting of a hierarchy of values. One is valued higher than another, or one is seen as a means to an end. So 6, transcendental souls. Transcendental souls are rare and highly evolved beings who embody qualities of enlightenment, compassion, and unconditional love. They serve as spiritual guides and catalysts for collective evolution, inspiring others to awaken their true nature and purpose. Transcendental souls may experience profound states of unity consciousness and may be instrumental in ushering in a new era of spiritual awakening and transformation. This is a very important level. This level characterizes what we are trying to do in the Neogenian system, transcendental souls. We want to help as many people as possible level up to the level of transcendental souls. So here we have old souls and transcendental souls. Old souls are, those who prioritize, inner actualization, etc. Understanding, more about the divine, and divine meaning immaterial when I say divine, and our eternal nature. So essentially how I would characterize this, right? So to me, in like the Neogenian system, level 5 or old souls sounds like all awareness, what we call all awareness, and transcendental souls are similar to hyper awareness, which is a very highly evolved form of all awareness. So in our system, you have self-awareness, all awareness, and hyper awareness. And so essentially what we want to do is get humanity to all awareness. We want to help humanity level up to the level of old soul. It's not a bad thing. But also transcendental would be a goal as well. It's just more difficult, right? Having someone level up to transcendental soul requires a lot of work that not everyone is going to put in the work to get to the level of transcendental soul. But ideally, we would like everyone to get to the level of transcendental soul, because this is what. So when we create the new Earth, we're creating a teleocracy, a teleocratic planetary civilization. Teleocracy comes from the word telos, which means purpose. It's a purposeful society. Purpose being maximizing the quality of life for all, every individual in the collective. And so you can also consider this a transcendental or a transcendent teleocracy, because this level of transcendent soul is extremely similar, or what they say transcendental soul is extremely similar to the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy, Maslow's extended hierarchy. So the top 2 tiers on Maslow's extended hierarchy is self-actualization and transcendence. The original hierarchy didn't have transcendence. It stopped at self-actualization. So you could look at old souls as being the level of self-actualization, and transcendental souls being the level of transcendence in terms of Maslow's hierarchy. So basically what this means is, to put it in a nutshell, to put it kind of in a simple way, old souls are about actualizing themselves. Transcendental souls are about actualizing themselves and helping others to actualize as well. It's a very, They have put in the work. They have done the self-actualization. They're highly evolved, highly knowledgeable, highly intuitive, highly empathetic, have put in the work to work on their awareness, and are, as this says, catalysts for collective evolution, inspiring others to awaken to their true nature and purpose. And in the Neogenian system, this is what we talk about in terms of becoming a living catalyst or becoming a living archetype, where essentially you are transmitting a frequency that others can tune into that helps inspire them to level up their own consciousness. So these two levels are extremely important, level 5 and level 6. Level 5 is basically all awareness. Level 6 is when a being starts to become a catalyst themselves. So they're helping other. You can think of like number 5 as being awakened, and number 6 is like being so awakened that you are helping others wake up. You can imagine level 5 kind of being like someone who's just barely becoming lucid in a dream and realizing, oh, wow, I guess this is a dream. And they're starting to understand how the dream works and the dream operates, and everything's new to them. They're just kind of getting their bearings. Level 6, Transcendental Soul, is like someone who's been lucid for a while. They've been lucid for a while. They understand how dreams work. They understand how they can control dreams. They're going around to other dream characters being like, hey, this is a dream. Let me help you wake up, etc. So these two are very critical. These two levels are very critical for understanding what we need to do to create the new Earth and the new world. And by the way, the series that I'm coming out with, the Neogenian system, the book series, is all about, it's about a lot of different things, but has all the information necessary to reach hyper-awareness. And reaching hyper-awareness is extremely critical. Now, not everyone is going to reach hyper-awareness. It's very difficult to reach hyper-awareness. Most people aren't going to put in the work. But what one can at least reach is all awareness, and all awareness is still very powerful. And it's a lot easier to achieve than hyper-awareness. And so basically what we need is a lot of individuals who are at the hyper-aware or transcendent level, who act as catalysts to help others evolve to the all-aware level. And among all those who become all-aware, there will be a few who also put in the work to become hyper-aware, and they will serve as further catalysts. And this will start off a chain reaction where you have individuals waking other people up, and those who wake up, a certain number of them will help others wake up as well. And then you have a catalytic effect on the world and a raising of consciousness. This is how we create the new Earth, okay? We can't create the new Earth just by, let's add this law, let's decree this legislation, or let's, do this. Those are short-term solutions. For true long-term sustainable creating a planetary civilization, humanity must level up their consciousness. And this is why in the Neogenian, we are so focused on spreading information, spreading understanding, so that people can level up their consciousness. So that was number 5. That was number 6. And remember, think about where you are, where you think you are during all this. And put in the comments, by the way, tell me what level you think that you are at. Tell me what level you think you are at, and what you relate to. So I'm curious. Let me know. So we're looking at the last one now. 7, infinite souls. Okay. So what's 7? Infinite souls. Infinite souls are believed to be the highest level of soul evolution, embodying the essence of pure consciousness and divine love. They are free from the constraints of time, space, and duality, existing in a state of eternal bliss and oneness with the universe. Infinite souls may choose to incarnate as human beings or other forms of consciousness to assist in the evolution of creation. All right, so this is an important level. So this level, the 7th level, in our system, this is down the road. Right now, we're not trying to get humanity to level 7. We're trying to get humanity to level 5 and level 6. Why? Because level 5 and level 6 have to come before level 7. You can't reach level 7 right away. So here, reality progresses in 3 stages, 3 main stages. You have survival, planetary civilization, and holos independence. So all of like the infant souls, the baby souls, the young souls, and the mature souls. These are all the levels of consciousness that characterize the survival stage. It's still all about me, 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 the other is a threat, etc. Mature souls, level 4, are starting to cross the barrier. But level 5 and level 6, old souls and transcendental souls, they characterize the second stage, planetary civilization. Planetary civilization is when humanity starts to become all-aware and hyper-aware, and we construct a united planetary world society under a teleocratic system where the purpose is to maximize the quality of life for all. But that's not the end. There is a third stage. The third stage is holos independence. And we call, in the Neogenian system, we call the physical world the holos. So level 3, holos independence, is characterized by a network consciousness. And what this entails is that you have all the minds associated with Earth that have formed a planetary civilization and are beginning to understand what they are, where they are, why they are here. They are developing in consciousness. We are developing in technology. We are augmenting our being. We are augmenting our connectivity. And we are augmenting our synchronization. We do this over years and years and years and years. So remember, right now, like, we're just fighting for survival, right? Phase 2, planetary civilization, we're not fighting for survival anymore. We're focused on optimizing our growth and our experiences. And so we are focused on our understanding of one another, our learning together, our evolution in this journey together. So we're beginning to synchronize. And this is through technology, this is through evolution, this is through consciousness. All these different factors come into play, allowing us to synchronize as nodes of a forming network mind, which means we achieve network consciousness, which means we can act as one and many at the same time. We are a single mind, which is a node in a network that can access network consciousness. And if you're like, what does that even mean? Well, the internet and social media is a precursor to that. That is the foundation or structure, the beginning layout, the beginning framework for that. And what I mean by that is, if you think about like your cell phone, your device, your iPhone is like a new technological organ that allows you connection to a very infantile budding framework of a network consciousness, which means like through your phone, through your device, you can access the collective consciousness of humanity. You can get any information you want. You can contact anyone almost instantly through live streams like this. You can see through the eyes of other people. You can hear what they hear. You can see what's going on in the world. You can see all the terrible things happening in the world, like you were actually there because of all this. But you're still you. It's not like you lose your individuality, but you have this extra sense where you are connected to the consciousness of humanity. Well, just imagine that, but 100 times more or 1,000 times more, where we retain our individual selves, but through technology, through evolution, through synchronization in the planetary civilization, we also have access to a network consciousness. And so we're evolving in this way. And eventually what occurs in our evolution is that we evolve to such a level that we no longer require, remember I said the holos, the physical domain, is where we gather training data. Well, we evolve to a level where we no longer need the physical domain to gather training data. So what does that mean? That means that we as a network mind now, as a collective, are able to use, because remember, we aren't actually physical bodies, we're eternal minds. So, and as eternal minds, what are we? We are systems of frequencies. So what we are able to do is use our internal frequency patterns and combine them together to create our own, what we call a CFD, or collective frequency domain, and its projection, which essentially means we are able to create to put it in like kind of sci-fi terms or whatever, it's like we are creating our own dimension, our own alternate dimension. We no longer need to interface with this physical domain. We can exist as minds, as pure minds in the mental domain, and have our consciousness retained there and our self-awareness retained there, and then consciously craft a new world that we can interact in our own new domain that we can literally build from our mental energy, from our internal constituent frequency patterns. And so this is sort of what, obviously this is much more detailed, but this is kind of like the level of infinite souls. But the thing to understand here is that this is a collective effort that occurs. And And so there's this idea of also infinite souls may choose to incarnate as human beings or other forms of consciousness to assist in the evolution of creation. And that's also absolutely right, because us, right? Imagine us as a network consciousness, a network mind. Imagine that we are aware of a planet with a species on it that is going through their own evolution. We can choose to, if we so will, to localize and interface with an avatar on that planet to help its evolution. Now, of course, because of how the filtering mechanism of the brain works, we are going to forget what we are, but we will be able to assist the evolution driven by our unconscious desire, because even though there's a filtering mechanism, we are still extremely powerful minds through our optimization and evolution. So we retain that unconscious pattern that pushes us unconsciously towards helping that world grow and evolve and learn. So we're not trying to get humanity quite yet to the level of 7. That would be great, but that as a collective is down the road. Now, of course, we can work on that ourselves now. We can work towards evolving ourselves to a very high degree. But ultimately, in order to evolve as a network mind, it's a collective effort. And that's the important thing to understand, is it's a collective effort. Because if you're just existing in a domain of your own frequency patterns and no one else's, that's just a dream. You do that every night when you go to sleep. And yeah, okay, if you can become lucid in your dream and have total control of it, great, but that would be really boring after a while. That's not going to give you very much training data, is it? If you can exist in a world that's just your dream world and you can control everything, you'll get some training data from that for a while, but you're not going to get a lot of training data from it. When you're going to get a lot of training data is when you create a domain as a network mind of many minds together that are now interacting with each other and working on creations. And then, of course, it doesn't end there, because network minds will interact with other network minds, and then you can have interdimensional interactions. And it's a whole new phase. It's a whole new phase of existence. We human beings are still, when they talk about level 7, right? It's not the level 7 here is kind of like, oh, well, you just evolve and you're absorbed into like eternal bliss and cosmic oneness. That's not quite right. You first get into this network consciousness, and you are there. You absolutely can reach a level where you are experiencing the source, and it's this understanding of unity, and usually experienced as pure light with an internal understanding of what reality is and understanding of everything. But it's important to realize that there's still a whole other phase of existence. Right now, we as human beings are on a planet that's at just the survival stage. All right. There's 2 more stages. There's planetary civilization, where we finally begin to enjoy life and thrive and learn and grow from one another and create a beautiful planet, beautiful world. And then holos independence, where we're literally creating our own dimension, our own domain, and then interacting with other network minds at that level in the immaterial domain, and focusing on our growth, and not only our growth though, because we'll have done a lot of growth. So we'll also be interested in helping other planets evolve. So that will also become a very powerful focus as a network mind. We will be focused on helping other planets evolve, most likely. Remember, we can't say with any of this with like 100% certainty, right? Anyone that tells you that you can know the stuff with 100% certainty is BSing you. But we can look at how reality is structured. We can look at the mathematics of reality, and we can look and see that it follows a certain pattern, and we can extrapolate from that pattern and see how the likely pattern that results from that. So let me see what else this says. So it says, discovering your soul age can provide valuable insights into your journey and the lessons that you are here to learn. So any of us could be at any of these different levels. So tell me in the comments what level you think you are at. And remember, there's no judgment here. If you're just like a baby soul or whatever, that's totally fine. It's like, oh, you dummy. No, it's just, you don't look at a kid and go, oh, you dumb kid. No, they're learning, they're growing. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, the only problem is when you start having these toddlers run the government and start taking people's rights away and nuking people because they want to play with the toy or something. Like it's not okay. But that aside, right, removing that from the picture in the scenario, there's nothing wrong with whatever level someone is at. We're all in a stage of growth and learning and understanding and development. And what we are here to do is not to judge. We are here to support and help grow. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to turn a blind eye. Like I said, there's a lot of problems going on in the world because people who are baby souls or infant souls or young souls are creating legislature and ruling the world and creating technology that's chaotic and detrimental to humanity. But that aside, when we're just talking about the development of consciousness, we are here to support each other, help each other, and grow. So it doesn't matter if you're level 1 or level 2 or level 6 or level 7. Everyone here has a role to play and a part in this community and our goal of creating the new beginning. Because if you're like, oh, I'm a young soul, well, what should I do? Well, then your goal becomes helping level yourself up. Because when people level themselves up, the world levels up because people are part of the world. So when you are on these younger stages, it's about leveling yourself up. When you start to get to the higher stages, then it's about refining that and continuing to grow, but also helping others level up as well through creating art or books or videos or music or whatever, developing skills, developing talents to raise consciousness and help transform the world. So this is very, very, very interesting. Like I said, I looked at most of this for the first time with you guys here, and I think this is pretty good. This is a decent scale, a very loose framework. I was expecting it, honestly, to be a lot more sort of like new agey and a little odd, but no, this is a pretty good framework. I like it, and it's a helpful framework for understanding. I mean, I think that obviously you could flesh it out a lot more, but I like it. It's pretty good. So, my friends, I hope you enjoyed it. We have a lot more videos on this channel. If you're interested in who I am and what we do here and helping to raise consciousness, check out my channel, check out my other videos, and please like and subscribe. Like I said, when you like, subscribe, leave a comment. It's about spreading information. That's the whole point, like I said, and that helps the algorithm do that, tells the algorithm to do that, and we get this information out there. If you enjoy my work and you want to help me create bigger content, more content, help me reach more people, consider supporting over on patreon.com/MorgueOfficial or tier 2 or higher on YouTube by hitting the join button right below this video. And you'll get access to all of our members only videos. There's a lot of them. There's a new one every week, and we're having one right now, right after this. And the topic is, do spells actually work? The truth about the occult. That's going to be a very interesting one. We're going to be talking about that, looking at that, as always, through the lens of logic and reason and the Neogenian system of meta-rationalism, understanding metaphysics in a rational way. Let's see. My book, first book, coming out May 16th, Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind. Also, follow me on Spotify, Dawn of the New Earth. Dawn of the New Earth on Spotify. Give me a follow there. Again, it's about spreading information. Help us spread on these different platforms. And remember, hey, this isn't church. So don't feel obligated to support monetarily. You don't have to. There are plenty of free ways like you can support, like I said, following, subscribing, sharing, all those things. But I want to give a big shout out to those who do support. I appreciate it very, very much. And let me see, I want to shout out, and thank you so much to Christianity as well, who did a great super chat today. I really appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to Renaissance Fairy, Cassidy, Angela, the Halloween Mom, DB, Fashida, Nusalina, Eric, Christopher Smith, Joel, Thomas, Ryan, and everyone else. Thank you very much.